We're back. Bill, thanks for joining us on the show. I'm glad you could find your way to the studio this morning.
It was a trip, believe me. I live about a mile away, and I've only been here about 5,000 times. So
right.
it was an effort, but great to be with you this morning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. You've been here a few times, and we'll dig into your history with Cable 10. But first, just tell us about, if anybody doesn't know you personally, just tell us a little bit about your personal history and how you ended up in Frankfort.
Well, how much time do we have? I don't know if we got enough. No, I am originally from Louisville, and I moved to Frankfort years ago, went to work for state government, worked for the Legislative Research Commission, headed up their Office of Federal and International Relations. And of course, I was going back even before that, I was in the Peace Corps in the Dominican Republic, and that kind of put me on a path for international activities. And I've been involved with a variety of groups who are active. For example, Rotary International, a member of the Frankfort Rotary Club. And of course, Rotary is our club is one of 35,000 clubs around the world, 1.2 million members in over 200 countries and territories. Then I've also been involved with the United Nations Association of the USA, which we have a very active chapter here in Frankfort. We've been meeting now for 40 years. We're providing community programs. And of course, then with the Global Connections television program, which started right here on Channel 10, I should say. And it started in the early 90s. And for the last 15 years, we've been doing tapings here in Frankfort and then in New York. And the program goes worldwide. We guesstimate, we're not certain, but we guesstimate we're hitting probably over 70 million potential viewers a week around the world. And of course, your viewers can watch Global Connections television any Monday evening. And it used to be at 9 o'clock. Now it's at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 9:30, and 4 or 5 shows a night, it seems like, which is good. Thank you.
Since we've gone live, we've kind of had to adjust our schedules a little bit since City Commission meetings.
Yes, right. So anyway, and they can also go to the website, globalconnectionstelevision.com, and go to the video gallery page. There are about 300 interviews on there. And we cover everything from human trafficking to climate change to international trade, economic development, human rights. You name it, we cover the topic. So anyway, that's a little bit of an overview of what I've been doing for the last couple of years.
Well, and as you said, you started Global Connections here in Cable 10. And anybody that's watched it in the last 25 years recognizes you from that. Give us a little update, or tell us how that kind of got started, Global Connections Television, and like what was the idea for that?
Well, basically, what happened when I was working for the legislature, we had a variety of activities underway. We had a Sister Cities program with San Pedro de Macorís in the Dominican Republic. We had many local business people who were exporting into the international marketplace, and they really didn't get much coverage. And, the State Journal does a great job, but you can't put every article in there and write long, lengthy articles. So I thought, why not start a talk show, a weekly talk show, hour each week, and we would invite somebody in and talk about these issues. And so it got popular here in Frankfort. It got popular around the state. And then, like I said, about 15 years ago, I figured let's move it to a new level. And then I went to the United Nations and asked if I could borrow their studio. Now, I don't work for the United Nations, don't get any money from them, but I borrow the studio and interview some of their high-level people, but I also interview business people, CEOs, heads of NGO, non-governmental organizations. Just a variety of people are on the program. But that's how it got started, was to provide a service to the people of Frankfort to show how we're involved in international activities, and what happens overseas does impact us here. We may think it doesn't, but it really does. What goes on in Syria or in Ecuador or wherever it might be, it will eventually impact us here one way or the other. So that's how it got started.
Well, you always have experts in such a wide range of fields, and I always appreciate seeing really folks from all over the world that you bring on for that show. So it's interesting to see like the world kind of get a little smaller in that moment.
It is truly shrinking. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. And the experts are there, and again, they don't often have a voice. They do in a limited way in their own venue. But still, there are so many great experts out there to talk about things like climate change, like Dr. Jane Goodall. Now she gets on the podium. When she's on the podium, she gets the international coverage. But a lot of folks don't, and there are so many issues like human trafficking, violation of human rights, international trade, and different ones like that really don't get their messages out. And so that's what we try to do with the program. One program I do want to mention before I forget it and it's coming up. I mentioned the United Nations Association of the USA, and we're going into our 40th year of providing free community education programs in Frankfort. And we normally meet on the fourth Monday of the month at 6:30 p.m. at the Paul Sawyer Public Library. And of course, Channel 10 covers our programs, which we greatly appreciate. But this next month in February, on February the 23rd, we're having a special program with the Frankfort Franklin County Interfaith Group. And it's going to be we're going to be looking at a film. It'll be on Sunday afternoon, February 23rd, from 2 to 4 p.m., and it's the film I Am. And this is supposed to be, I've not seen all of it, I've seen trailers of it, but it is a very in-depth exploration of what's wrong with the world, and better yet, what can we do to fix it? So we would encourage everybody to put that on their calendar, February 23rd, Sunday, at the Paul Sawyer Public Library. And again, this program will run from 2 to 4, and of course, it's free, no problem there. So I hope everyone can attend.
You've mentioned a lot of charitable organizations that you've done work with, and you're heavily involved with Rotary Club. Everybody's heard of Rotary, but tell us what the mission of the club is for maybe people that haven't been involved with it, and what kind of programs they have.
Right. Now, Rotary is, as I mentioned, is our club here is one of 35,000 clubs around the country. In the state of Kentucky, we have about 90 Rotary clubs all the way across the state. And Rotary's, their major goal, really, their motto is service above self, and that's what they're about. Not only do Rotarians come together each week to hear interesting programs at their weekly meeting, and our meeting is at noon at the Capitol Plaza Hotel, and invite anybody who would be interested to come join us and experience the Rotary for at least one meal, if nothing else. But the purpose of Rotary is to provide assistance and to be an active member in your community and at the international level. And so we have committees. For example, we have a community committee, we have a vocational committee, and again, we have an international committee. And our Rotary Club, for example, will team up with Kiwanis and have a friendly competition to ring the bell for the Salvation Army right around Christmas time. We have international projects that not large projects, you understand, but we do help fund a water project in El Salvador and put up some money for that, anti-cervical cancer program in Haiti, so we're involved in that. But again, these are small donations, but when you take all these Rotary clubs to make small donations, they turn into a large amount of money. So again, Rotary is service above self. It was started in 1905 by Paul Harris in Chicago, and it started out with 4 business people who wanted to get together to network with each other and to sell each other goods. That's basically what it was. And then it expanded. They said, well, we're part of the community here in Chicago. Let's do something for the community. And it just really went worldwide. And Rotary has been the prototype for involvement, community involvement, international involvement. And today, well, Rotary's had so many projects in conjunction with the United Nations, and one is the Polio Plus program. And this is the largest international healthcare program ever undertaken. And basically, we're on the verge of eliminating the scourge of polio. And it was Rotary that really came up with the idea, and in 1987 went to the UN World Health Organization, UN Children's Fund, UNICEF, the UN Centers for Disease Control, then later the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and other folks to help contribute money to it. And we're just on the verge of eliminating the scourge, which will save us billions of dollars every year that we won't, around the world, that people won't have to spend on these programs. So Rotary does a lot of good in the community as well as overseas.
Now, Bill, we'll backpedal back to United Nations Association of America that you mentioned just a few minutes ago. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved with UNA USA and what type of work you guys do there.
Well, that's a good question. Very good question. When I was in the Dominican Republic in the Peace Corps, I had worked at the university in Santiago, Madre y Maestra, and I was in the School of Social Work, teaching a social research class. And it just so happened there were some UNESCO folks who, United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, people who were also working at the university. And again, USAID, Agency for International Development, had people who were in the university to provide technical assistance to the folks because they did not have a huge budget. And so I knew a little bit about the UN, but when I came back to Kentucky, there was a group called the United Nations Association of the USA. Now, they're not part of the United Nations. They're totally separate. But the idea of UNA USA is to help Americans understand these international issues and how they do impact our lives. Why is peacekeeping important in other parts of the world? Why should we even care what's going on in the Democratic Republic of Congo? Well, for many reasons. A humanitarian reason, a financial reason. If the United Nations has a peacekeeping mission over there, that means U.S. soldiers won't be there. That's not our people will not be on the front lines. Mm-hmm. It will not cost us to fund that type of operation. So anyway, I thought this group seemed like a really nice group to be involved with. So I got involved with the United Nations Association of the USA, again, to help provide information to the people in Frankfort, Kentucky. Now, UNA has about 30,000 members in about 200 chapters around the country, some of them on university campuses and what have you. And again, at our monthly meetings, we cover a wide range of issues. I don't want to keep hitting on human trafficking, but it's such a hot button issue, and it's all over. It's not just in developing countries. It's right here in Frankfort. So anyway, that's how I got involved in the UNA USA. And if people have more interest in that, they can go to unausa.org and learn about the United Nations Association.
Well, it sounds like you brought some of those mission goals to your the whole idea from Global Connections too, as well. Like, informing folks of what's going on really around the world.
That's very true. And just one other thing, forget it. Sure. You talk about the goals. The goals of Rotary are applicable. The mission of the United Nations to provide humanitarian assistance, peacekeeping, what have you, they overlap. They really do. Yeah. And Rotary and the UN have been partners since really the creation of the United Nations in 1945. And it's been a model of the quasi-public sector United Nations, private sector Rotarians working together on projects like educational programs, the Polio Plus program, that type of thing. And it's also been a model for other groups. For example, Kiwanis International, a great organization. They've teamed up with the United Nations on iodine deficiency disorder programs. Lions International, another great service organization. They've worked on vision projects. So there's this overlapping, and it shows what you can do when you bring the key players together and really combine their resources to some degree to work on a specific problem.
Well, Mr. Miller, thank you so much for coming in. We always love having you stop by the Cable 10 studio, and thanks for filling us in on Global Connections. And again, you can watch Global Connections here on Cable 10 or on, globalconnectionstelevision.com.
That's right.
And you have a YouTube page as well. Folks can catch a lot of those interviews there too. Well, thanks for being here. We always love having you.
Thank you, and congratulations on your program.
Thanks.
Great program.
I appreciate it.
Good to see you again.